Hello, everyone. We've given ourselves a little bit of time to sit with the results of this weekend's Oscars, Janine, and we're going to have a little bit of a discussion on our thoughts on the winners, on the big events that happened at the 95th Academy Awards, and ask the central question, which is behind me today. Are the Oscars back, according to television ratings? Little bit. But then again, we've had 2 or 3 years of a pandemic and nobody saw movies really.
Yeah.
And did people care about Nomadland and Coda, the previous 2 Best Picture winners, as much as they obviously do care about everything, everywhere, all at once? I don't necessarily think they do, so I think there's a reason. I think there's good discussions to be had. Are the Oscars back? Did they actually get this pretty right this time? In terms of, pretty correctly as far as the public is concerned. And, are they perhaps on the right track to salvaging some of that lost love they had over the past 10 years? I hope
I think
so.
I think so, especially with people kind of going back to the movies, and we got some really great movies last year. Um, and I think every category I wanted to win won except for pretty much one category. So
Yeah,
I feel
I
like
would
that's the
agree with
general
that.
consensus. Everyone was pretty much happy with all of the winners except for one in particular.
But even that one in particular, yes, we can be.
Yes.
It's not a case of being upset, and it's not a case of we don't like this person. It's
Yes,
just
it's definitely not
it
that.
is very much a case of, well, really, there's probably everybody else who was nominated was probably
Probably
ultimately
a
better
lot
than you
better,
in your
and
book.
it's the idea of the career Oscar kind of coming
I
before
think
the
it is.
performance Oscar,
I
which is
also
always
think
so
it's
frustrating.
more than just the individual's career Oscar as well that's gone into
Yeah.
that particular Oscar. We will get into that in today's discussion. We're just going to run through the winners here, give our thoughts. There was obviously notable speeches and things like that given, an in memoriam section that forgot about 84 people, as it usually does.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I saw there was no Paul Sorvino, there was no Kevin Conroy, there was no several people who you just expect
Yes.
reason to be in
And they
there.
always say there's, like, a timing thing if it got in too late, but, like, these are people who have passed, like, pretty early on last year that they should have been included.
Yeah, these are notable people. There was notable
Yeah.
people as well. So I don't know if we want to get into all of that, other than just saying, why are you discounting clearly very notable
Yes.
movie related people? You always say that it is a time thing, but you can't pick and choose who dies, can you?
Exactly.
So
But Lenny
make
Kravitz
more
sounded
time
great,
for.
so, there's that.
Yeah. Well, I think we should start by just giving credit to those awards that won, but we know virtually nothing about,
Yes.
because they unfortunately are just they're considered not there's no lesser award in the
But they're,
Academy
like,
Awards, in the
typically hard
Oscars.
to find, or they're not, just
Yes,
they're not mainstream, so, people don't really have
we're here.
access or yeah.
Yeah, we're here talking about the shorts and the documentaries and things like that.
Yes.
Which are obviously wonderful pieces of art, wonderful mediums to perform in and to create. But unfortunately, I'm sure we had this discussion on an episode of Monday Madness that you will be able to find on this YouTube channel. Subscribe, ding the notification bell for more from us here. About I want to see shorts in front of more movies. That we should be going back to the feature presentation of old Hollywood,
Yeah,
and
why not? We get like
having
20
trailers. We have trailers, obviously, but having
Yeah.
trailers, shorts, some sort of strange little featurette, and the feature presentation, perhaps even a second B movie, and then end of afternoon. And it takes like 4 hours.
Yeah.
That's what should happen, I think. But it doesn't. So unfortunately, things like animated short don't get seen, and live action short don't get seen unless you actually directly seek them out. And I
Or
want to
unless
know,
it's Pixar, because Pixar plays their
unless it's
shorts
Pixar.
before their bigger movies.
Yes. So we have as the winner of Best Animated Short The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, which Morgan hasn't seen.
Yes, Janine hasn't seen either.
But credit to that short animated movie. Documentary short, best documentary short, one was The Elephant Whisperers. Credit there. Best live
Well,
action
yes,
short.
well, that one actually, it was 2,
Oh,
Indian women who won that
oh, I
award.
see.
So, yeah, so very big for India. I think it's the first film
Oh, this
from
is good.
India to
Yes.
even win anything, and the fact that it was made by 2 women, so, and there was
Fair
a whole
enough.
thing
Yes.
where
Okay then.
one woman gave
So,
the speech, and then the other one came up to give her speech, and then they, like, cut her off with the music, so she had to give her speech a little bit later, like, at a backstage thing. So
well,
they
that
were
is
doing
good.
that to people. Like if like a couple producers came up, one would talk and then the other one would come up, but they was like too late. So
we expect this. Nobody's allowed
yes.
to rant on and rave on for 10 minutes, are they? Because that happened once. I
No,
forget who it was now.
well, I
Somebody
loved
has somebody holds the record. I'm sure it was in the 70s
who
for
just
the
going on
longest
and on
speech, and
forever.
it lasted like 10 minutes,
Oh
and it
gosh.
was
Well,
just somebody waffling.
I don't remember if Will Smith's speech was that long, but like Jimmy Kimmel made a joke. They're like, so if anybody comes up and assaults anybody, we're gonna give them
Well,
the
yeah,
best actor award and let them have a speech for 19 minutes. So I'm
I
like,
don't remember it was.
I
I
don't
don't
remember if
remember
he
it
was
being
up
that
there for
long.
19 minutes. But that's like was his joke. So I'm like, was he really up there for 19 minutes? Did they let him have a 20-minute speech after that? But yes. So yes, two Indian women won that award. So it was big for India.
Oh yes, credit to them. Then I wasn't actually quite aware because I don't watch the Oscars show because it's on like in the middle of the night and the early morning for me
Yeah.
in Britain. So I just kind of always wake up and
I
get
think
my
I was
fill of what
there one
happened.
year the Oscars were on, so I didn't get to watch them.
One year, yes, you were.
Yes, I think it was the year Olivia Colman won.
Yes, I want to say it was.
Yeah.
Best live action short, An Irish Goodbye, won that. And then we're kind of into, well, best documentary feature. I don't know if anybody watched the documentaries. I mean, I'm discrediting these. I feel like I'm inherently discrediting these, and I don't
Well,
want
just
to.
because we can't really talk about them because we haven't seen them or know much about them. So
I don't even know how to pronounce the best documentary feature winner. Unfortunately, Navalny, Navalny,
Navalny, I think.
Navalny.
Yeah.
Credit, genuine credit to all those creative teams
Yeah.
and productions, but I unfortunately just don't know enough to speak on them. But we'll get into things we do know about now. Let's go for some. Let's build up, and let's go for some technical stuff first. Best sound. Top Gun Maverick won ahead of Elvis, the
Yes.
Batman, Avatar, Way of Water, and All Quiet on the Western Front. I don't mind this at all. It makes
No.
entire sense.
I mean, I saw Top Gun Maverick in every format. I saw it in 40X, I saw it in Screen X, I saw it in IMAX, I saw it in standard, and in every format I saw it in, it sounded incredible. So,
Yeah, it's fighter jets. They're going
mhm.
to have to sound a particular way. I think All Quiet on the Western Front. I mean, war movies
Oh
and good
yeah,
war
are
movies
known
always tend
for
to
their
have good
sound. Yeah,
sound, don't they? Because you go quiet and kind of into someone's mind at some points, but you obviously
yeah,
all have the
or the
gunfire,
ringing in the
the
ears because
ringing.
if the gun's too close to them, and
Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, I feel like any good war movie has equal sound to any other good war movie.
yeah,
So perhaps Top Gun Maverick really does deserve that for being pretty overwhelming with its roaring engines and things like that.
yeah.
And
Well, speaking of roaring engines, if you hear something that sounds similar, it's two bulldogs snoring. So just be aware.
that is fair. That is a fair point. Um, Visual effects, best visual effects. I
Duh.
think this is plainly obvious, really. Avatar: The Way of Water won ahead of near enough all the nominees from the last category, apart from Elvis wasn't in that. Elvis was replaced by Wakanda Forever, but we have Top Gun Maverick, The Batman, and All Quiet on the Western Front, and Wakanda Forever, Avatar: The Way of Water winning above those for visual effects. How could it have been anything else, even though there was
Yeah.
times when Avatar did make me feel ill with
Yeah,
its
it
its
was very
frame
much,
rate and its
and it
things
had
like
these
that.
those weird zooms, those weird, like,
Very weird
video
zooms.
game
It did look
cuts.
like a video game.
Yes, but the water effects looked really great.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an
Yes,
entire
the motion
world
capture, well
created.
done. Yeah, it looked beautiful. So,
An
yeah,
en-
duh,
an en-
duh.
an entire world created through visual effects. It's incomparable to those other movies that have a lot of live action in them.
Yeah,
Even the MCU and Wakanda Forever, green screen central that it may be, it still has an awful lot of humans in it. And
yeah.
Avatar really doesn't.
No.
So you've got to give credit to it. And it does look stunning. It does
And I
look
mean,
stunning.
to the actors really, like, being able to sell these things that they can't really see, you know, with the motion
Yeah.
capture and having it just look so fluid. So, yeah,
Yeah.
duh.
Yeah. Duh, I think is a good way of
Yeah,
putting
I did a like a Twitter thread um throughout the night, and yeah, when that one I was like, duh.
it. I think this next one was an interesting win, a perfectly understandable win. I mean, it makes total sense, but I do think there was others in this category that could have, and I would have been like, yes, fair enough as well. And this was best makeup and hairstyling
Yeah,
because the
yes.
whale won
Hmm.
above Elvis, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, The Batman, and All Quiet on the Western Front. Again, I think when you look at All Quiet on the Western Front, good war movies need to
Yeah,
have good
good
makeup.
effects. Yeah,
Um, Hairstyling, not much gone into All Quiet on the Western Front there
yeah, they were wearing
necessarily.
helmets essentially. Yeah,
Helmets and kind of short male hair. That's all you're dealing with,
yeah,
really. Wakanda Forever, that's not what you're all dealing with. Makeup and hairstyling, all fancy, and
yes,
you're
blue
not only
skin
dealing.
and yeah,
Yes, you're
the
dealing
face
with.
paint and the hairstyles, because there was such a beautiful variety of black hairstyles, braiding styles, and afro styles, and so many
Yeah,
great looks from
but
black
you're
culture.
dealing with
So,
those as well as all the Talocan Central
hmm,
American influence,
yeah,
in all the Nemo's people.
hmm.
I mean, the Batman had great makeup,
I
mainly
mean,
for Colin
Colin
Farrell.
Farrell, yeah, that looked so seamless. He didn't even look like himself, and you couldn't see any crack or seam or anything. But, when I saw stuff about the whale, they put a lot of work into, like, really making it look natural. They didn't want it to look like a clumps, like Nutty
Yes, no, we
Professor
don't
kind
want
of
that.
fat suit situation. They wanted it to move, like real fat and be just very naturalistic and not look like a clumpy, like, suit. So
Yeah,
there was a lot of care there to really make it feel natural. So I think they
and
did a
I
lot
think
of
they did.
research on how to make that happen. So yeah,
I don't think the movie would have worked if it'd have come across like a
looking like,
nutty professor
Sherman
with
clumps.
cloaks.
Yeah,
No, we don't want any of that. So
no.
you have to say fair play to the whale for creating arguably the most authentic makeup of its kind we've
Yeah.
ever kind of seen.
Yeah, I think there was some
Suppose.
innovation there in terms of makeup, some things that hadn't been done before, and they had to kind of create and figure out themselves, like new technology in terms of
Yeah.
makeup. So, yeah.
Um, and I mean Elvis being nominated for this as well. Call me an Elvis hater. Not an Elvis Presley hater necessarily. There's plenty of
Well,
Elvis
to be
songs I
fair,
actually quite like, but call me an Elvis hater. I'm kind of half glad it didn't win a single thing.
well, to be fair, you haven't even seen the movie, so
No, I haven't. I haven't. I'm like the
the
weird anonymous actor we discussed on Monday
Tom
and
Hanks just
hating on
was
movies without seeing them.
Tom Hanks just felt like the weirdest part of that movie. It had its very trippy Baz Luhrmann visuals, but overall, I think it looked great. I think Austin Butler gave a great performance. The replication of real things we've seen Elvis do and perform looked amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
I've seen those. I've seen clips of like
yes.
If You Can Dream and stuff like that, and it is very, very accurate. It's very, very good to look at. I have had for months my weirdness with Austin Butler and his obsession with
To just
the
keep it
voice.
going. Yeah.
It's not actually anything I have against the movie Elvis. It's
Yeah.
really just stop being weird, Mr. Butler.
Yes. And then I had people arguing with me, and somebody was like a staunch defender of him. Like it was very odd fighting with me on TikTok. Um
Okay.
he was with Vanessa Hudgens for about 10 years, and she was the one who really kind of manifested this role for him. Like he was singing something at Christmas or something, like he was singing along to an Elvis song on the radio in the car, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, you have to play Elvis. You sound just like him. Oh my gosh, you would be so good. I think you should, if something comes up, we have to kind of go for it." So she like, several times he would do something and she would encourage him like, "Oh my gosh, if something Elvis is happening, you have to do it." Um and this was somebody he was with for 10 years. They, subsequently broke up, and then he gets this part, he does this movie, and now he's going around telling these anecdotal stories about a friend who encouraged him to
I
like
love it. I love it.
right? So now there's this
It just
video.
it might just be very difficult for poor Austin Butler to think about his unfortunately failed relationship with Vanessa Hudgens, and he might just not want to fully
Well, I mean,
admit
they've
that
since moved on. They're since both with other people. So like at this
it
point,
still
like
might play in his mind. It
so there
might
was
do.
a
You don't
whole
know.
there was a whole kind of thing of like a video of her just like walking right by him, like just like not acknowledging him. So of course, the gossip kind of came out of
Yes,
that.
that's quite
So
funny.
I said, if I were her, I would protect my peace and just, walk by, like, especially to someone who kind of whittles down our 10-year relationship to just a friend
A
and
friend.
not somebody who puts you on this kind of trajectory to get this Oscar nominated role. And then someone was fighting with me about how Vanessa Hudgens is terrible and da, 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 and Austin Butler, he probably just wants to be private about his relationship. And how dare you, come for him? And like someone was just like fighting with me over,
Pe-
protecting Austin Butler at all costs. So I was like, oh, okay, whatever. But
People will be people, I
yes,
guess.
yes.
Is what happened there. Um, but yeah, that was makeup and hairstyling for the whale
Well,
anyway.
yes.
Best international feature. This one I think could have gone to two of them because Argentina 1985 won the Globe, didn't it?
Yeah.
And it's won a couple of others, I'm sure, in this category. But I think after the BAFTAs, which were a few weeks ago now, a couple of weeks ago, All Quiet on the Western Front did so well at the BAFTAs.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know there was some deeply questionable things going on at the BAFTAs and deeply questionable wins. Like All Quiet on the Western Front actually won the BAFTA's Best Film Award.
Well, I mean, even overall in the night, they won the second most Oscars. So when they were winning things kind of back to back, I was like, well, could it actually like come and get Best Picture? Because I think it ended
Which
up
it
winning
did do
four
at the
in total.
BAFTAs.
Yeah.
Which was, I was surprised, really. Because this is obviously, like, All Quiet on the Western Front's been made several times.
Yeah.
Its original movie, that was obviously based on a book, yes, but its first movie did win Best Picture in
Yeah.
1930.
Yeah.
So it's just like, you can't have a remake. I know it's good, but you can't have a remake winning
Remake.
Best Picture, right? This is
Yes.
just a bit
But then, like,
next level.
the story of it, and that's what kind of what the
It's a
Oscars
wonderful
loves,
story.
except when Sylvester Stallone is nominated. They don't like that story, but
Oh, the story of the Oscar. No, that would have, I suppose that would have been an interesting
yeah.
real world story for
Yeah.
a remake of it to win. I mean, you can't fault the story of All Quiet on the Western Front anyway. I think it's a brilliant war story, really.
Yeah.
I can't, I have nothing bad to say about All Quiet on the
No.
Western Front. And the fact it did win Best International Feature does make total sense. And I think it's the best movie award it should have won.
Yes, and
Because it
probably
shouldn't have won
the
Best
most
Picture.
mainstream in that category.
Certainly.
Yeah, so
Certainly, I think so.
kind of the obvious
But
front runner, I think.
yeah, that one above Argentina 1985, Close EO and The Quiet Girl, which The Quiet Girl's an Irish movie. Is it really an international feature? Do we consider British movies international features now?
I mean,
Is it
right?
Irish? Is it? I thought it was non-English language. I thought that was the rule with international features, but
Yeah.
apparently not. Apparently not.
Some people might think Irish accents are foreign language.
That would be offensive to Irish people, and we don't want that. I don't have any slight towards The Quiet Girl being an Irish movie, by the way. I just think I thought it was non-English language. I thought that was the rule with that category.
Yeah, because then yeah,
But if it's not, then it's not, and that's
what's
fine.
to stop British movies from
What's
being
to stop British movies doing it then?
that's international?
You know, it's
Yeah.
strange. It's a little bit of a strange one. Best original score. Here's another one for All Quiet on the Western Front, ahead of Babylon, the
Yeah.
Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and the Fablemans. A couple
Yeah.
of unusual additions to this nominations list, I think, when you consider what wasn't put in. For my money, the Batman probably should
Yes,
have been in there.
right?
But All Quiet on the Western Front, best original score. It's kind of, I'm just saying, okay to this one. Like,
Yeah.
fair enough. I can't really argue too heavily because the one I actually would have wanted to win wasn't nominated.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I mean, they all have good scores, really, don't they? I suppose Banshees has more of a small folksy score
Yeah.
with violins and things like
Fiddles and
that,
things.
fiddles. So maybe All Quiet on the Western Front has this more dramatically cinematic,
Yeah.
bombastic kind of score. But then again, so does Babylon.
Yeah.
Babylon's all kind of over the place and chaotic, and
Crazy jazzy type kind of,
yeah.
chaos. Yeah.
But if we're giving All Quiet several Oscars, I don't have any problem with that one. We get to one I really do like now, and I wanted it to win, and it should have won, and I'm very glad it did win above all the others. And this is Best Original Song for Natu
Yes.
Natu from RRR, ahead of Applause from Tell It Like a Woman, Hold My Hand from Top Gun Maverick, Lift Me Up from Wakanda Forever, and This Is a Life from Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now, This Is a Life's a great song.
Yeah,
Lift
I
Me
liked
Up,
all the performances. I don't know if you actually got to go see the different
not
performances, but
fully, no, not fully. I haven't.
because I was
Unfortunately.
waiting for the Not to performance, which I was told that, like, well, obviously, you know, we kind of have the British colonizers in the movie and our Indian characters and
Yes.
mixed with this whole dance scene. But I saw something that said like the majority of the dancers were not Indian. And I thought like at least one of the lead guys was, but they were saying like nobody was. So that's kind of disappointing.
That that kind of is. I admittedly haven't seen the Natu Natu performance from the Oscars, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, it was a lot
But
of
it's
fun, but
but let's just watch the movies version instead again.
right? Just you should have just put that up on the screen. But
Just
yeah.
put that and let everybody watch that because that was
Yeah.
just unbelievable. I love that I made time to watch RRR. I did think after hearing a bunch of people talk about it that it may have got some love in the international feature category. I don't really know how it wasn't nominated
Yeah.
in that.
Exactly. It was crazy, that movie. It was so huge and over the top and looked
But it was
great
a
and yeah.
well-loved movie.
Mhm.
It was a
Yes.
well-loved movie. A very, very watchable movie.
Yeah.
I don't really know how it didn't get a nomination for Best International, but I'm so glad Natu Natu won the song. There's not been
Yeah.
a catchier song all
Yeah.
year, and
And I loved his
I've not
speech.
seen a better dance number for a long, long time in a
Yes.
movie.
And I loved the winner kind of coming up and talking about how he used to listen to the Carpenters and like
It
saying his
doesn't sound like the Carpenters.
no, but like he sang like he put his own words to a Carpenter song and sang
Okay,
kind of like his speech, which was really cute.
okay,
And even when he was coming up, the announcer was kind of talking about how John Williams was one of his inspirations, which so to like have him be in the audience and have
yeah,
him, so yeah, that was nice.
yeah. But there's a bunch of good songs really. I mean, I haven't seen Tell It Like a Woman, but the others there, Hold My Hand from Top Gun, Lift Me Up, and This Is a Life.
Yeah, and
They're
that
all
was a
good
great
songs.
performance from Rihanna. Um, and yeah, that song is basically about Chadwick, and Denai Guerrera came
Yeah.
out and introduced the song, and they talked about how it was basically about them kind of really coming together and mourning this loss together. So it was a really beautiful performance. Lady Gaga was
But was
really
it
stripped down.
joyful? No.
No.
Natu Natu was joyful.
He was very joyful. And Lady Gaga was really stripped down. Like she took all her makeup off. She was wearing like a black
Yes.
t-shirt and torn jeans. Somebody told me they thought maybe it was her like, just she's maybe doing some method stuff for Harley Quinn and she's trying to stay in character so she didn't want to lose something with that. So that's
That
why she
makes
just
me
kept it.
feel sick.
So yeah, somebody's like, "Oh, please don't tell me she's doing some weird method thing for Harley Quinn and she's just kind of keeping it stripped down." But yeah, she was totally stripped down and really kind of no makeup and very emotional about it and talking about the song was really close to her.
Right, but
So
hold on. If she was doing that, then she would have come to the actual event
yeah, no,
stripped down.
she looked very nice and elegant, was acting herself. So I yeah.
So
I,
I'd like to think it's not that, and my
yeah.
God, I hope it isn't that because people need to learn how to just turn something on and just act. If you're
Yes, and then
if
turn it off when you need
you
to
don't have
turn
to
it off.
become the person, you don't have to do it. Not even the original method actors became the person. This has been a development of method acting
Yeah.
that you now have to
That
become the
now just
character.
makes you
You don't have
completely
to become
obnoxious.
the
Yeah.
character. This was not what Brando and the other highly influential early method actors did. They didn't become the character, they just allowed their own personality and personal experiences to influence the
What they were
performance
gonna
and
have
be
to do. Yeah.
naturalistic rather than being over theatrical. You don't have to do that. So I hope to God it wasn't that.
Yeah.
I really do.
So
Best animated feature, Guillermo's
Yeah.
Pinocchio,
Yes.
kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it was expected to win. And then obviously the commentator was saying that Guillermo, when he saw Disney's Pinocchio for the first time, it informed him on how um, life can be scary for children.
Yes, which has basically been most of his career.
Yeah. So like I'm like if original Pinocchio can scare him, then that movie's like pretty. That movie does get pretty dark. You kind of forget
It
about
gets
that.
very dark. Yeah,
Yeah.
it gets very dark, and certainly better than live action Disney's
Yes.
Pinocchio, which was also
Yes.
this year,
Yes.
but
So I
nobody
mean
talks
his
about that.
had a lot more depth and obviously, really great to see stop motion
We like
um
stop
win
motion. Stop
something.
motion's always going to
Yeah.
win. Stop motion is the it's everyone's favorite type of animation in terms of critically. I think because it takes the most time
Yes.
and
And
it
I'm
takes the
also
most
happy
dedication.
and I'm also kind of happy that Marcel the Shell didn't win because that's kind of unfair because it also has live action characters in it and they kind of
Yes.
disqualified the Lego movie just because of that little scene at the end of the movie with Will Ferrell in it. Even though the creation of that movie, like that was some brilliant, like I thought they like did stop motion with Legos when I first saw the Lego movie. No, they
Yeah.
designed all of that and made it look like actual Lego bricks and designed all of that in computer animation. But yet it wasn't eligible because it had that one scene at the end. But Marcel the Shell with several scenes with human people like
Hypocritical.
was fine. So yeah, I was kind of
In
like
in similar vein, surely Avatar: The Way of Water should have been nominated then, and probably
yes,
won.
that yes, exactly.
And probably won because that's the exact same. There's a few human people, and it's mostly very obviously animated.
Animated. Yeah, exactly.
It's just a different style of animation. It's just mocap animation
Yes.
and rendered rendered
Yes.
environments and things like that.
My pick would have been for
Um,
Turning Red personally because I just loved
Turning
that
Red, I love
story.
Turning Red.
It was
Turning Red's
so
a great
good. It was
movie.
so great. Yeah. But
But yes, Guillermo's Pinocchio won
yeah.
over Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, The Sea Beast, and Turning Red.
Which I
I did
heard
love
that Puss
Turning
in
Red.
Boots was really good. And they did some really interesting kind of like um a little bit of Spider-Verse kind of feeling animation in Puss in Boots. So yeah, I'm
Puss
hearing
in
like
Boots: The
that one
Last
was
Wish.
yes, I'm hearing that is actually was really good. So
Okay, now there's
yes.
a few big ones now. Big
Mm,
ones now. We have costume design. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Ruthie Carter winning her second
yes,
of
making
the
her the
Black Panther
only
movies.
yes, making her the only black woman to win twice in
Yes,
all of
which is
Oscar history.
a massive deal,
Yes, and I
really.
love her speech to her mother who had just passed. Her mother was 100, she said, I think.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yes, Ruthie Carter winning for Black Panther: Wakanda
And
Forever.
someone pointed
Best
out
costume design.
her note cards for with her speech matched her dress. So like perfect costume
That's
designer
Yes, that's very
essence right
very
there.
clever. We've
Yeah.
got to appreciate that.
Yeah.
Winning over Babylon, Elvis, Everything Everywhere, and Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. What's going on? Another remake. I'm sure that was a movie in the 60s or
Maybe.
something like
Yeah, because
that.
it looks like it's set in that time. But I would have, if anything else, I would have given it to anything everywhere. All at once. Everything.
Everything Everywhere's costume is ridiculous.
Yes.
I mean, Elvis. If you were to give Elvis anything,
Yeah.
maybe
He
this
had some
one.
spangly looks in there, but yeah, I'm glad because she had like all the telecon costumes and the feathers, and really had to do
Yeah,
some like historical kind of research and things like that. So yeah, those
yeah.
costumes were beautiful.
Production design, best production design. All Quiet on the
And on the
Western Front
Western
again,
Front,
winning this
yeah.
one. Over Avatar: The Way of Water, Babylon, Elvis, and the Fablemans. I mean, again, I would say if they were maybe to give
But how does
Elvis one of
Avatar get
them,
nominated for Production
I don't know
design.
how Avatar gets done.
Isn't the
Production
production
design,
design in a
surely.
computer?
I view production design as a physical thing. I think it has to
Yes.
be a physical thing. It has to be
Because
sets
then it's just
and things
if
like that.
if you're designing in a computer, then it's just visual effects. And you already won that. So stop trying
I think it is, but maybe
stop trying to double dip.
I think it might be trying to double dip. I do.
Yes.
Um, I also think this could have been one Elvis could have won, and I would have been like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, fair enough.
Recreating like these sets from shows and performances he did and things like that. So definitely, yeah.
Yeah, but All Quiet on the Western Front's production design to create, you know, I think they have a almost a leg up war movies
No.
in
Oh
terms of
yeah.
stuff like this, when you're able to transform an entire environment into something so
A war
distinctly
scene.
of a time,
Yeah.
so distinctly of a place.
Yeah.
I suppose that's the case with anything, but when you're able to make it so like, such like that, you think of a movie like 1917 or something like that was just
Yeah.
so perfectly World War One.
Or even like
Obviously,
Once
All
Upon a
Quiet on the
Time in
Western Front the
Hollywood
same.
when you had to
Yeah,
make LA look like, LA from
look
another
like the late
time. Yeah.
60s.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work in terms of production design to do that. So when it can be believable, when it can be entirely believable, entirely
Yeah.
entirely tangible looking, entirely real looking, then you can't say anything other than, yeah, fair enough, well done again, All Quiet
Yeah.
on the Western Front, congratulations. There, best editing, everything, everywhere,
Everywhere.
all at
All at
once.
once. Yeah.
Ahead of Top Gun, Tar, Elvis, and the Banshees of Inisherin.
Yes, but everything everywhere had like some crazy editing. Like there was even a part
It
in the
did.
movie where they made you think like the movie was ending, you know?
They did. Yes, it did.
Yes. So some very and all these quick, edits of her in different places and all these different
Multiversal editing.
multiverses. Yes. So many crazy things they had to bring into this movie to really create this overwhelming sense of what this movie was. So definitely well deserved.
Very, very, and it's the first of what ended up being 7
Yeah.
for
Mhm.
Everything Everywhere all at once as well, which
Yeah.
I'm absolutely delighted by. I'm glad. I was telling people for weeks. I've been telling people for weeks. You need just watch the movie.
Yeah.
I know it's all. It can be a bit chaotic at the beginning, and you have to sit and watch it
Yes. It'll
properly
make
and
sense.
make
Just
sense
yeah.
of what's going on. But if you focus, then it will be just a wonderful movie watching experience for
Yeah.
you. Because, and I've been saying this to people, it will sweep the Oscars. And look at what it did.
It essentially did, yeah.
It essentially did. So, well done, Morgan's predictions. And 7 Oscars for Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. You can't fault the editing. Quick, interesting, multiversal stuff like that wasn't choppy, wasn't messy,
No.
was
Everything flowed.
appropriately
Yeah.
chaotic.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. Best cinematography. Now here's another for All Quiet on the Western Front.
Western
Again,
Front.
we're
Mhm.
bringing up the same points we've brought up several times now. It's going to look good.
Yes.
So why we can't moan about this, but it did win over Tar, Empire of Light, Elvis, and Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths, which I haven't
Yeah.
watched. I don't know that one.
Me neither.
But you can't moan at All Quiet on the Western Front. I do know a few people that were interestingly questioning that Tar didn't win any Oscars.
Yeah. A
So,
lot of things didn't win anything. Like a lot of big movies that were
like,
nominated
I know
didn't.
what we've obviously brought up that Elvis didn't, and we kind of
Yeah.
thought it might, given the style of movie it is and music biopic, pretty successful music biopic, has won plenty of awards in award season,
Yeah.
but nothing tonight. Tar, it's a music biopic, I suppose. Tar,
Yeah. Mhm.
it's a has won awards, but didn't win anything here. They really were, and this is what I mean when I say, are the Oscars back? Did they get it right? Because they genuinely went for the great mix of critical greatness and actual public popularity,
Yeah, which is
which is
rare, it seems like.
it is rare, and I think it's what they did decades ago. If you look at the history of the Oscars, they did this decades ago. They used to do this consistently. They would award what was kind of mutually the critically best and most popular.
Yeah.
To a fault, sometimes they would award the most popular that wasn't necessarily
The best.
critically loved.
Yeah.
But recently, they have been on a run of critical darlings that people don't know, or people don't care about, or people sometimes haven't heard of. But they're awarding it because it was critically the most well loved.
Yeah.
And this is what's made people fall off watching the Oscars, fall off caring about the Oscars. And they just didn't do that this year. And I'm glad. And people moan, don't they? People moan about the Oscars. Oh, it's a dated establishment, a
It's all
dated
rigged,
institution.
yeah.
It's all rigged. It doesn't matter. But it's mattered for 95 years.
Yeah, and it matters to the people who get nominated, for the most part, so
It's been the award in movies for 95 years. People always still bring it up, general public. So it should be considered the best of the best. It should
yeah.
be considered, and it's not always the best of the best. In fact, it's very rarely my favourite. The best picture of a given year, and this is even going back decades and decades and decades, is not too often my favourite movie of that year.
Yeah.
Not too often at all, really.
Yeah, it's rare.
But a lot of them you can't fault. A lot of them you say, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
I
okay,
understand
that's
why
fair,
that's
I
one
get
there.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Um, but that's become less and less. And I think certainly in the last 10 years, that's just become, why is that one?
Yeah,
And why is that one? And the next year, really that one? And you're just continually kind of saying this. But
yeah.
the fact we're not saying this year just has my hopes so high that we might be starting to get on a path now of more kind of amalgamation
Variety,
between
yeah.
public consciousness and academy critical consciousness, and it's
Critical
just
acclaim.
molding.
Yeah,
And I want this. I want this, and I hope everything everywhere begins this new
trend of that,
train.
yeah. Yeah.
Yes. But All Quiet on the Western Front won for best cinematography. Their best adapted screenplay, Women Talking, won above
Yes.
Top Gun Maverick, Living, Glass Onion, and All Quiet on the Western Front.
See, I would have loved Glass Onion or Top Gun because it's just like you're bringing back something old. Like the story of Top Gun Maverick, I think was really great and well executed. Such a tight script, very clean
Really
script.
was.
Flowed so nicely, really, had stakes and was really, sucked you in. Um, but when Women Talking, I literally watched Women Talking before the awards. So I was like super happy with that. And um yeah, because I mean, it's literally women talking, but you're still invested in the story of it. It's, a group of Mennonite women talking about what they should do should they leave their community after several women have been raped.
Yeah.
So, just a really interesting dynamic and conversation and, conflict. So, just a very kind of simply told story, but like just so many interesting avenues. So I had just watched it, so I was like, okay, like, I'm okay with this.
It's those screenplays that are able to be so dialogue heavy and
Yeah,
so seemingly so little action, but have so much power.
yeah.
They are phenomenal screenplays. They are some of the best screenplays.
And props to
And
Sarah Polley, like,
yeah,
I remember watching her as a little girl in The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. So to kind of see her trajectory through the world of film, directing this movie, writing this movie, yeah, it was
and look,
brilliant.
that's a heavy subject. That's a heavy,
Yes.
heavy subject.
Mhm.
That's not what you would consider kind of a popular gripping subject, really, is
No,
it?
mhm, and you're up against these really populous things, and to
Yeah.
tell kind of this quiet story, and
Apart
win
from
for that,
living,
it's great.
living, I suppose,
Yeah.
isn't a populous kind of
No.
exciting
No.
story either. It's Ikiru, isn't it? It's I get
Yeah.
diagnosed and I'm trying to come to terms with it. That's the whole point
Yeah,
of that.
basically like last holiday.
It is a little bit like Last Holiday, it is. So yes, absolutely fair play to women talking their best adapted screenplay, best original screenplay, everything everywhere, all
Everywhere,
at
all
once.
at once, the
Obviously,
Daniels,
it's the
yeah.
most original movie you've ever seen.
Yes.
It's the most original
And to
movie in
make
years and
yes.
years.
And to make that story coherent and flow and make sense. Like you could get so lost and confused in the mix of everything you're trying to tell in the story, but it makes
Yeah,
perfect sense and you get the tones of this, husband and wife and this mother and daughter and these dynamic relationships and these relatable dynamics and
yeah.
um told in the midst of like all this insanity, but it's a very simple story you're telling.
Uh,
So the way that they were able to craft all these kinds of crazy multiversal type action crazy situations around a simple story of this family, like
yeah.
it's just very well done.
Um, Won over Banshees of Inisherin, The Fableman's Tart, and Triangle of Sadness.
Mm.
We are into acting now, acting categories. And really, I mean, really, we just have a near enough, apart from one, through line of Everything Everywhere All at Once winning that.
Yeah.
So we have Best Supporting Actress. Let's start
Yes.
with this. The one of the evening that everybody's going, okay,
Yes, and they were really
about.
kind of closing in on Angela's face, like was very serious. She didn't stand, which like everyone kind of felt for her. Everyone was kind of like feeling what she was feeling, and just to kind of go back to her last loss, she lost to a role where the character did was mute and didn't speak. So
Angela Bassett must clearly just be deeply unlucky.
yes. Yeah, she lost to Holly Hunter in the piano, so she was just like
Yeah,
and if you hear her kind of talk about it, she's like, not there's a little bit of shade. They're like, "Yeah, I lost to," but you can tell, like, I lost to somebody who had no lines of dialogue, like, what?
yeah.
And now to
Um,
win to somebody who maybe presumably had the same amount of screen time as her, as each
yeah, I
other
would
in
say
their
so.
respective films, but Angela Bassett had profoundly more to do, profoundly more to express in the time that she had and used her time so perfectly. And Jamie Lee Curtis didn't really have much to do. So she wasn't even the best performance in that film in that category. Stephanie Shu had
Correct.
way more to do, was way more integral to the plot points of that film. And so it just made no sense.
But it did. But it did. And you know why it did? Because it's the Academy. It's the Academy. This is the one time in the entire awards show this weekend that they did what they are always told they do, which is legacy awards. This
Yeah.
is not only a legacy award for Jamie Lee Curtis, who has had and continues to have a wonderful career, We are not faulting Jamie Lee
Oh, no,
Curtis
definitely
in
not.
Everything Everywhere All at Once, nor are we faulting her at all. She's great in that movie, but the fact she isn't even the best supporting actress in the movie,
Yeah.
which is odd. But it's not only a legacy award for her. Her parents never won either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Either of them. Tony Curtis or Janet Leigh were both nominated for
Yeah.
Oscars. They never won.
Yeah.
So it's not only like, we'll give it to you, Jamie. We'll also kind of say we
Yes, and
recognise the
have that great
successes of
story.
your parents as well.
Yes. Yes. So
That's what
then
it is.
and
So
then
that
there's that
this
whole
is why,
conversation around the nepo baby and all of that, and she's been
and
very
that's
vocal about it. So
yeah,
that just kind of plants that whole kind of thought process in the forefront for people as well. So
it does. But I mean, even in terms of that, she can't help being a nepo baby,
no.
and I don't think none of them can. It's just what you choose
No,
to do
and I
with it.
appreciate her for being one of the ones who acknowledges it and says, "Yeah,
Yeah,
whereas a lot of them, like, get defensive about it, she hasn't ever been defensive about it. She's like, "Yeah,
no,
I am, and,
no,
I loved my parents, and,
yeah,
while, I got opportunities because of who my parents were, I still had to show up and do something to stay there," you know?
exactly, exactly.
And so, yes, like, I'm happy. I liked her speech, thanking genre fans and really being appreciative of horror fans who have given her a career, and she doesn't forget where she started. And I love that about her. But it should have gone to Angela 100% in my opinion, or Stephanie.
I would have honestly, yeah, either of those two. Either
But
of
even
those two
Hong
I'd have been
Chow, Hong
celebrating.
Chow was great in The Whale. I think everyone else gave a very tough and strong and heartbreaking performance in their films. So, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
just yeah,
it's a weird one. It's a weird one because
yeah.
it, she hasn't won that award in other award shows.
I think maybe at the SAG Awards, I
Or
think it
did she
was
win
like
the
because
SAG?
whichever one has the tie,
Oh, I
whichever one you
forget
can
now.
tie at, I think
Ah,
her and Angela won or something like that.
okay.
So she
I
did
don't
get
know, to be
one.
honest.
Yeah, she did get an award, one award, I think, during that run, I want to say. But yes, and I loved Michael B. Jordan when him and
Yes,
Jonathan Majors came up. He threw a little "Hey Auntie, I love you" at her, and I was like, oh.
the
So
heart, the heart, it
yeah,
stops.
yes,
And the most obvious award of the evening, Best Supporting Actor, Ke Huy Quan. I don't even. Who else
yes.
was it going? It wasn't going to be anyone. He's
They
won
didn't
every
know.
single damn one of
No,
them.
yeah.
He's continued to win his trophy cabinet at this
But that's what
point
I'm
for this year
saying,
must be
like, did we really need to
ridiculous.
give it to Jamie? Like, we had the story with Brendan, we had the story with Key. Like, we got our
Well,
story
that
moments,
it was.
you know?
We did. But like I
We're
said, this
getting
was
our
a
story with
different.
Michelle, like
You are right. You are right. They all had their own stories, but it is a different type of story, and it's what they are known for. They are known for legacy Oscars for undeserving award
and,
for undeserving performances
and whenever I think
sometimes.
that's the case, and then I just go back to my most frustrating moment of Stallone not winning over Mark Rylance in Bridge of Spies
You
in the
are
most
right. Yes, you
boring
are right.
performance ever. To have that story of this person, coming back years later to play this character and winning an Oscar for it, like, that
But
would have been a great story, a great Oscar story, and it didn't happen then. So that always just kind of takes me back to that. Like, is it what they do, or do they just like, it's hard to
I'm not
navigate.
defending. I'm not
Hmm.
defending the Academy because they are hypocritical. They're deeply hypocritical in the
Yeah,
kind of awards and the kind of people and things and movies they give the awards to
yeah,
year by year, seemingly.
yeah.
Um, but they do have a history of legacy awards. So I understand it. I don't. I would have preferred one of the other two. Like we said, I mean, even a Kerry Condon or a Hong Chow,
Yes, they
I,
were
I
all
would
great.
have,
Yeah.
but it does make sense to me why it was that, because I know this award ceremony, I know this organization.
It's very much to what they do. Yeah.
But Ke Huy Quan was deeply obvious.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
you know, Barry Keoghan. Barry Keoghan did win the no. Did Barry Keoghan win the BAFTA? He did. Barry Keoghan won the BAFTA, and his name's not Keoghan, but I always say it like that. He won the BAFTA. Ke Huy Quan didn't win the BAFTA. But this is because Barry Keoghan is Irish. He's closer
Yeah.
to Britain, and it's all a
Yeah.
bit like we do like you,
We look
Irish
out for our
people.
own.
Please,
Yeah, we do look out
please, we
for our
do
own
like
media a little
Irish
bit.
people, and
Yes.
basically the Irish people are like, we don't like you.
But
This is what
you're
happens with
closer.
Britain and Ireland.
Yeah.
But Ke Huy Quan, it was deeply obvious that he was going to win this. But Barry Keoghan was great. Judd Hirsch in The Fablemans, Brian Tyree Henry in Causeway, and Brendan Gleeson in The Banshees of Inisherin as well.
Yeah.
Two from Banshees, but nobody was going to win it over Ke Huy
Yes, just the
Quan.
story of that, and his speech was really great, and it was so emotional. I was crying when he won. Like, I knew he was going to win, but it was still very emotional. And I saw him kind of in after interviews, and he has said like all his Goonies coast, like Josh Brolin and like all of them called
Good.
him, and Sean Astin, they all kind of called him and congratulating him, and
I
and the
like
guy who
that.
plays Chunk was actually his entertainment lawyer who did his contract for Everything Everywhere All at Once, because when he got cast, they were like, okay, who do we send this to negotiate your deal? And he's like, I don't know, I don't have a lawyer. But then he remembered that Chunk is
I
now an
like that.
entertainment
I
lawyer,
like that a
and so
lot.
he thanked him for like working that deal for him and like all of that. So yeah, it's great.
Michelle Yeoh
Yes,
for Best Actress.
history making. Yeah.
Over Michelle Williams in The Fablemans, Andrea Riseborough in True Leslie, Anna de Armas in Blonde, boo, boo for Blonde, Kate Blanchett in Tar.
Tar, yeah.
People were giving
Worried.
it a
People were
little bit.
worried. Yeah.
People were worried for Michelle Yeoh, but I've also seen people going, really, probably, maybe Kate Blanchett should have won in some people's opinion. In some people's opinion.
Well, if I'm
Some
looking
people,
at
I
the
think,
performance,
some people, I think, have made Tar a bit of a personality. So maybe that's the reason there. But oh my god, yes for Michelle Yeoh.
yes.
Like we say, the first, I suppose the correct way of putting it is the first identifying Asian woman to win Best
To win yeah.
Actress.
Yes.
Because unfortunately,
At the time.
Merle Oberon in 1936, I think,
Could
wasn't
not. Yeah.
identifying as an Asian woman, even though she
She was. Yeah.
was half.
Yeah.
Where is she? She half South Asian. I forget where she's from actually, or where she's kind of descended from now. But she did win in the mid-30s, but was
Yeah.
not open about her ascendancy.
Yeah.
Michelle Yeoh obviously is. So
Yes. So
we
happy
love
for her.
this. We love this
Yeah.
deeply.
And the
This is
fact that Hallie was
perfect.
the one who handed it to her was just a very beautiful moment between the two of them, as they both kind of made history in their time. So to have
Yeah,
Hallie and
good
her and
point.
Hallie have a little moment was really nice to see.
And Mr. Fraser for The Whale, Best
Yes.
Actor
I cried at
over
this one as
Austin
well.
Butler, Colin Farrell, Paul Mescal, and Bill Nighy. Credit to Bill Nighy for Oscar
Yeah.
nominated Bill Nighy. We
Yeah.
love that. We do love
Yes.
that. Oh my god, I'm so delighted Austin Butler didn't win.
I know, because I was worried, because it was between the two of them. They were both kind of going back and forth at the different shows,
Yeah, they
winning.
were. They
Um,
really were.
yes, and I think
Terrifying.
Austin won the Golden Globe, so it was very much like, oh my
Well, they
gosh, it
both
was
won, didn't they? They both won the Globes because the Globes are separate. Musical, comedy, and drama.
no, but I don't think I think they were both. I
No,
think
they're
they were. I thought,
separate, aren't they?
but I thought they were both in the same category. Their nomination.
No, because there's a drama and a musical comedy. I'm sure they both won. I'm
I
almost
know.
convinced the
No,
both of them.
I don't think Brendan won the Golden Globe.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh no, Colin Farrell won. Colin Farrell won the Globe. That's why.
Yes. Yes.
Apologies for that. But yes, we like this Brendan Fraser. This was the correct thing to do. This was not only the correct thing to do from a redeem yourself standpoint, but from a we're sorry Brendan standpoint as well,
Yeah, from everything
and
he's
from
been
a
through his career, and and
genuinely transformative performance standpoint.
yes, I mean, that performance was heartbreaking. He was amazing in that role, and, um, and he's just such a good person, like, you just wanna see good for him. It's very much
Yeah,
like him and Key, just very much, similar energies of this kind of them getting these second chances at their dreams. So, very,
yes.
very happy.
Again, I think another very obvious award here. Best Director for the Daniels for Everything Everywhere All at
Yes.
Once
Yeah.
over Martin McDonagh for Banshees of Inisherin, Spielberg for The Fablemans, Todd Field for Tar, and Ruben Ostlund for Triangle of Sadness.
Sadness.
Who else was it going to go to? It wasn't going to go to anybody else. The originality of the way that movie was made was ridiculous.
Yeah.
The chaos of it, and to focus that chaos into such a ultimately
Personal
simple
story.
story
Yeah.
was unlike
Beautiful.
anything we've
Beautifully
seen.
handled. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Directing duos, think what you want about them. Do they count as, you have someone else to play off? You shouldn't be winning an award. You're not doing it on your own. Some people think like that. Some people
Yeah.
think like that.
Well,
But
I think it
directing
was
duos
well
are more
deserved.
popular these days.
Yeah.
There's a lot more directing duos than singular directors, and it's probably because people go insane
Yeah. I mean, you have
when
your
they're on their
Russos,
own.
you have your Radio Silence. So.
Yeah. And the big one. And really, what else was it going to be? It should have been this. It should have
Yes.
always been this. If it was anything else, we would be here throughout this entire discussion now going, not are the Oscars back, we like the Oscars now.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
would be going, the Oscars
Nope.
truly
They're
are
doing that
dead,
thing.
goodbye the
Yeah.
Oscars.
I'm done with you.
Everything Everywhere,
All at
Best
once.
Picture,
Best picture.
2023. Above all these pretty good movies, to be fair. All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar Way of Water, Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Fablemans, Tar, Top Gun Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, Women Talking, but Everything Everywhere All at Once comes out
Yes.
on top, as it should have done,
A
because it's
wholly
the best
weird,
new movie
unique,
I've seen in years.
beautiful, smart film one, and that's just great.
It's just the correct
And
decision.
it's kind of like a sci-fi film, and I don't think a sci-fi film has
It
ever
is.
won Best Picture. So, yeah.
Well, was The Shape of Water not really a type? What was that
I
then?
mean, that was like a monster movie, a monster
It was pretty
romance.
sciencey though. It was a fish, man. Definitely a sci-fi movie will have won at some point. Sure,
I don't think
I'm
so.
sure it will. I'm sure it would. It must
I
have
don't
done. Now
know.
I don't know for
I
sure
watched
now.
I watched somebody else's kind of commentary on this, and I think they did say that this was the only sci-fi movie
That's
to win.
staggering if that's true.
So that's somebody who actually did research, unlike us. So
We are here with our opinions. We are here with
yes,
our
free
opinions.
flowing opinions.
Well, I mean, there we
Yes.
go.
Hmm.
So we ask ourselves our central question: do we think the Oscars are back? Because I think this is an outstandingly positive looking Oscars winners list.
Yeah.
For 95% of it, everybody's going, yes, this is
Okay.
good.
Yeah, that's
The
deserving.
the
I'm okay with that. I like that. That deserved that. I think that's fair. That's a great pick. Yay for these ones. Oh my gosh, I'm excited. Yeah, I think it all was
and the viewership numbers were up on the same night that the season finale of the
The
current
Last of
most
Us.
popular television show was airing. the viewership numbers were still up from, I think the first time in 3 years for the
Yeah.
Oscars. And we say this makes sense because there was a pandemic and, people
All of these other
didn't go to
things,
the
but
movies, people didn't know the movies that were nominated or that were winning and all this business, and that makes sense. But you still have to take the positives, I think.
yes. But even in
Um,
general, I think it was a great show. The performances were really good. I think we got Jimmy Kimmel just doing enough. He wasn't like doing all these big bits and segments. He came in, he
yeah,
did a couple little jokes that were actually really funny, and then went about his business. And the presenters did some nice things and were funny. And Elizabeth Banks came out with like a cocaine bear. Like the bear was just being obnoxious.
got
She's
to
like,
be like
without
this.
visual effects, this is what Cocaine Bear would have been, a stupid man in a bear suit. So some
I
very
think
funny moments,
Cocaine
and
Bear should get an Oscar
she's like, it should have won for
next
visual
year.
effects because that bear looked pretty great. So yeah, that's what I'm
Well, it should
saying.
win
It should,
next year. It'll win next year.
yes, yes. So I'm hoping to see Cocaine Bear. It was pretty funny, but yeah, I mean the entertainment factor I think was there. Um, just a really nice streamlined show. I didn't like them kind of cutting people off, but
They always
for
do
the
that.
yes, great
You can't get away from
speeches.
that.
And yeah, I think overall a good entertaining show and much deserved winners in all categories for the most part.
Positivity, positivity. Are the Oscars back? We hope so. It's a
Yes.
good sign. It's a good sign. There we go for today's Oscars discussion. We've had a bunch of stuff scrolling past at the bottom of the screen for you to check out if you would like to support us on Patreon
Yes.
or find our social medias, donate, or all our other shows, of course, on the It's a Wonderful podcast feed on all major podcast platforms. Monday Madness, Morgan hasn't seen, and It's a Wonderful podcast, the main show, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, everywhere you get your podcasts. And like I said before, subscribe, ding your notification bells here on this channel for all the things we have here. Give it a check out, leave a like, say what you thought in
Yeah.
the comments about this Oscars ceremony, and answer the question, are the Oscars back? And are we happy? Are we happy with the 95th Oscars 2023? I am. I
Yeah.
am. And Janine is too. This is good. I think that about does it. So there is only one thing left to do. Janine, please do it in an Oscars voiceover way.
3, 2, 1.
Bye.
Bye.